Travis kiddos, happy Tuesday. I'm still sporting my purple for Month of the Military Child. We are getting to the end of the month, but we're not there yet. So I am still honoring you guys and celebrating you. So I have some enrichment reading and writing work for today. You can reread Super Tools from the Reading Writing Workshop book. I really like this story. It's a fun little one. I hope you enjoy it as well. You're practicing the OO sound this week, which can be made with OU, OO, U, U blanky, EW, UE, and UI. And I did think of a word that has UI but doesn't make the oo sound. Build from last week's sight words that just makes an I sound. Doesn't follow the rules. But all of these that we're focusing on this week make the oo sound. So oo, 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 oo. So they can make other sounds as we've talked about, but that's what we're focusing on this week is the oo sound. Our sight words this week: answer, brought, busy, door, enough, and eyes. If you've read Super Tools and when you read it again, you see those words are in there and they are highlighted in yellow. So you're practicing those sight words. You see them in the story. You also see our vocabulary words for this week, which is your first Your Turn workbook page. So the vocabulary words, again, these are enrichment. This is extra, may do if you'd like. So demand and emergency are the vocabulary words for the week. So if you demand that someone do something, you ask forcefully or strongly. Emergency. An emergency is something unexpected that you need to take care of right away. So in Super Tools, the tools discuss if they need to demand to be used. Right here on page 225, it says, can we demand to be used? And their emergency is they decide to have an emergency meeting, okay, because they didn't know, but they haven't been used, and they didn't know they needed to have a meeting until this came up. So then they had an emergency. They weren't expecting it, but it needed to be taken care of right away. So an emergency meeting, and they were talking about if they needed to demand to be used. Okay? So when you read, when you see those words, now you will know what they mean. You can match each sentence to the picture that it tells about. So read the sentences, and then you'll match the pictures over here to each sentence. Okay, and you notice demand and emergency are in those sentences. And then you can complete the sentences using the words demand and emergency, always in your best handwriting. This is page 273 in the Your Turn workbook. Okay, and you're going to read Working Together. This is the paper reader, pages 275 and 276. So if you'd like to do your timed read, remember 1 minute on the clock, read through as much as you can, and try to read well, not just fast, but correctly, and making it sound nice to listen to. So 1 minute, if you get all the way to the end, awesome. Start again if the minute is not up. Get as many words as you can, and then you can write it. You can record it on page 277. So your first read, the top line, so words read minus the errors equals the correct word score. Okay, so that is an option. And then after you do your 1 minute timed read, whether you got through the whole thing or not, read it again and read well for comprehension, understanding what you read. This week, we are also working on theme. So understanding what the story is about or what theme is woven throughout the story. And this week in Super Tools, The theme is that the writing tools worked together to make their lives better. And some of the clues that led us to that theme were that the pencils made a sketch, the markers drew the birds in the tree, the crayons drew the sun in a blue sky. All of those things led us to the theme that they were working together. Okay? So you also can read your leveled readers. So your leveled reader is either Two Hungry Birds, What a Feast, or Beware of the Lion. Okay, you'll find that on Launchpad through on Connect Ed, and there's also the paired read, the second text in there. If you have Two Hungry Elephants, the second text is Dogs Helping People. If you have What a Feast, the second text is Helpers Bring Food, and if you have Beware of the Lion, your second text is Pete Seeger. Okay, so enjoy that. It's one fiction text and one nonfiction text, so you get a little bit of variety there. Speaking of variety, in your writing this week, we are working on a few things. So writing a letter, and one of the things they're working on is variety of sentence length. So variety means different or changing it up, right? So vary the sentence length means change it. So sometimes they're short sentences, sometimes they're long sentences, okay? We're also working on adding details and using pronouns, okay? So she, he, they, I, we. So I'm going to get into the writing in just a second, but I also want to remind you there are lots of games on Connect Ed that you can play. There are building sentences games, there are adjective games, there are phonics games, there are grammar games, all kinds of things that you can practice to make it a little bit more fun. Fluency games too, reading words quickly, okay, and practicing that ooh sound while you read quickly. So, our writing. Again, we're writing a letter, and if you've already read this text, they had a letter from the computer to the writing tool. So you address it, dear, blah, 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 whoever you're writing it to, and you assign it from who you are. So your pal, your computer, okay? So the computer wrote this letter. That can't really happen, but this is fantasy, right? And you guys are going to, this week, write a letter from Lucy's tools, to her writing tools, to her, explaining what they drew in the picture and using words to explain it. So remember, they drew this beautiful picture for her, and they wanted to remind her that she could still use them and that she enjoys using them, right? So if I was going to write a letter to Lucy from the writing tools, I would start, so I'm going to start a letter here. I would start with Dear Lucy, okay? So Dear, E sound is going to be made with E-A there, so Dear Lucy. So Lucy is her name. I'm going to capitalize it, L-U-C-Y. Dear Lucy, and I put a comma, because that's how you address a letter. And then you start a new line to start writing. So when you start a new line, you kind of start a little bit in. I usually start around the R of the dear. And if, again, as you saw before, if you notice any errors in my writing, it's intentional. I'm going to come back to it because I want to practice editing later this week as well. Okay, so Dear Lucy. And again, this is not from me, Miss Corpel, this is from the writing tools. So we worked together to make a picture. We is a sight word. Work is a sight word. It has an sound, but it's made with OR. Remember, OR can sometimes make the We worked together, which is a sight word, together to make you a picture. All of these are sight words so far, so besides picture. Actually picture is a sight word too, so you should be able to spell them correctly. If maybe you don't know picture, that's okay. So I'm gonna sound out picture for now, and then I might come back to it later and spell it correctly. So picture. Picture. So you notice I have a k, I have a ch and an We worked together to make you a picture. That's the end of my sentence. I'm going to put a period. Okay? We wanted to remind you, so they're writing to her. So the reason why they made the picture. And I'm starting a new sentence, so I need a capital letter. We wanted, so want is a sight word, right? W-A-N-T. I just need to add an E-D. So wanted to, now remind is not a sight word. R-E-M-I-N-D. We wanted to remind you how, that's a sight word. A lot of these have become sight words. The more we have learned, the more we know that, and most of the words we read become sight words at one point. We wanted to remind you how much fun you have when you use us. So again, most of these are sight words. Okay, we wanted to remind you how much fun you have when you use us. Now this one's not too long of a sentence. This one's a longer sentence. So I'm going to try a slightly shorter sentence next to mix it up. Remember, we're varying our sentence structure. We're trying to change it up. Some short, some long, some medium. Okay. Do you still like to draw? So you're asking her a question. You can also vary your sentence style. I've done two statements. I'm going to do a question. Do you still like to draw? Now that's a question, so I'm going to put a question mark. Do you still like to draw? I'm going to ask another question. Do you still like to color? So remember, these are the writing tools. Are sending this letter to Lucy. Okay. Do you still like to color? Okay. And then I'm going to put a short sentence that is an exclamation. It's not a statement. It's not a question. It's an exciting sentence, right? So we bet you do. So they bet that you still like to color and draw. Okay, so capital, starting a new sentence. We bet you do. And since it's an exclamation, I'm going to put an exclamation mark or an exclamation point. Okay, now if you already read the writing and grammar section in the Reading Writing Workshop, book page 234 to 235, you know that they have new sections or paragraphs for different groups of thought. So I'm going to try that out. So I'm going to try a little bit of something new and start a new paragraph, okay, leaving some space. So I don't keep writing on that line. I'm going to start a new line and come in a little bit. This is new. We haven't really worked on that. So even though you have a new computer, you can still use us too. Okay, so even though you have a new computer, you can still use us too. We are all cool tools. So that is the ooh sound. So I'm using one. O-O is a cool sound. So O-O is an ooh. And so I'm going to use that for both cool and tools. Okay? So we are all cool tools. And then I'm going to say, don't forget about us, because they don't want her to forget about them. So don't forget about us. Exclamation. Again, I have a lot of exclamations. They're really excited here. Okay. See you soon. Okay, now I'm out of space, so I'm going to have to go to the next page, which is a little tricky to show you this part. But when you sign a letter, you need to do it kind of over here. You, just like you wrote dear at the top, you're going to close your letter with something. So you're going to write sincerely love from your friends, your pal. I'm going to write from. Okay, so from, and put a comma, just like we did with the dear, and then writing tools. Now I'm going to capitalize because that is their name in this story. Okay, so from writing tools. So for now, I'm going to leave my writing like this. I will come back another day to edit, but that's a lot of work to start with. So you can go ahead and get started on your writing. Writing a letter to Lucy from your writing tools. Maybe you have some similar ideas to use. Maybe you have your own ideas to use. But try to use the structure of a letter, dear, blah, 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 but it's going to be Dear Lucy. Writing in your varied sentences, and from, love, some kind of sign off, sincerely, and then the writing tools. Okay, if you want to practice writing a letter to someone else, you are also welcome to do that. Have fun with it all. Happy learning.